My name is Laura Niklason. I'm a physician and a bioengineer. I'm a professor at Yale University and an anesthesiologist, and I've been working for the last 20 years in regenerative medicine and cell therapy, particularly focused on engineered blood vessels and also regeneration of whole lung. Well, I think I was inspired to pursue blood vessel regeneration during my training as an anesthesiologist in Boston about 25 years ago. It was during that time that I was taking care of patients who were having heart bypass done, and I was seeing how the surgeons would have to scavenge arteries and veins from different parts of the body to do a bypass operation on the heart of a patient who needed it. And it just struck me as a very barbaric process, and I became very interested in whether or not we could develop methods in the laboratory to grow new arteries essentially from scratch for patients who need them. Well, I think there's a lot of obstacles that you have to overcome anytime you're trying to do something that's fundamentally new. And many of the obstacles you can't possibly anticipate. But, when I describe the types of problems we have to solve when we're trying to figure out how to build a new artery or a new lung, when I describe it to people, I say it's like the difference between driving a car and having to take apart a car engine and build it from the bottom up and understand how it works and understand why it's broken. So the difference between being a doctor who takes care of arteries and being a doctor who's trying to grow a new artery is about that type of difference. And there's a lot of things that we've had to figure out on the fly. There's really no roadmap here. And, when I started working on this problem, I thought, this might take me 3 years to finish. And in fact, it took me about 20. So these are hard problems. Well, I think the on balance, being a woman in the sciences and in medicine is kind of a double-edged sword. I do think it's true that most women scientists feel that to get as much recognition as a male counterpart, they probably have to be a little bit better. I don't know how much better that is. Maybe it's 20% better, but there's a little bit of an expectation amongst men and women, quite frankly, that a woman scientist may not quite be as good as she seems, and maybe we need to be convinced a little bit more. And I don't think it's nefarious. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I just think that's how a lot of humans are wired right now. And it's just a reality. So I think that most women in science feel like, they can't drop the ball very often and they have to be on their toes and be pretty good if they're going to be taken seriously. So that's on the downside. But on the upside, I think it's absolutely true that especially in academics and science and medicine, that when we're looking for new faculty candidates, new scientists, I've been on a lot of search committees at multiple universities and multiple departments, and every single one has spent a lot of time searching hard for women candidates and trying their very best to bring in any candidate who might seem like they would be suitable for the position. And we don't do that for men. We don't. So there's a strong, genuine effort to bring women in and to diversify the workforce in science and medicine. That's definitely there, and that helps. That's a help. So I think, it cuts both ways. My mother and actually her sister. So my mother was a very intelligent and beautiful and charming woman, and everybody always has and always does love my mother, and I always wanted to be like her in that respect. Her sister is an internist and was the first female doctor I ever knew personally, and she always lived a very sort of cosmopolitan and very sparkly sort of life, and so I always aspired to be that kind of person. Um, I would say that during my training, frankly, most of my professional mentors were men. They just were. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just how it shook out. In terms of who I idolize now, in terms of, sort of female role models, this may make you laugh, but actually, Angela Merkel, who's the Prime Minister of Germany, is to me just an embodiment of a very intelligent, very powerful woman who's she's the most powerful woman in the world right now, and she's very calm and very understated, and she's powerful because frankly she's got it more together than most of her male colleagues on the European continent. I'm especially proud of developing methods to grow blood vessels in the lab in such a way that they've been functional enough and of high enough quality that they've made it all the way into clinical trials, and they've actually done pretty well in clinical trials. So I'm very proud of the fact that we've been able to take a technology that didn't exist before I created it, and we've refined it and polished it and made it robust and made it uh, and we developed a better understanding of it over a long period of time, over 20 years, and that all of those efforts culminated in a fundamentally new product that I think is going to help hundreds of thousands of people with vascular disease. So yeah, so after a difficult day at work, I like to go home to my family and my husband. That's really nice, unless they're in a bad mood too. But honestly, I love to cook. I really like to cook, and I've become actually a very fast cooker because I've spent my entire adult life cooking at the end of a long day, and so I can take something out of the freezer and a piece of meat, a piece of steak or something out of the freezer, and I can have a very good dinner on the table in 30 minutes. So I like to cook, and I like to have a glass of wine, and those are probably my two very favorite things. Movie, I would have to have probably Gone with the Wind. Book, probably Anna Karenina. Um, and food, my very favorite food would probably be walnuts.